You know, it's not every day that you are in a room or actually a coliseum full of heroes. No need to look around. I'm talking about you. Physicians and physicians in training both. You see, while you might call yourselves doctors, the people you serve, the patients and their families, see you as more than that. In fact, ask anyone who's ever had a sick child, and I'll bet they'll say that they see you as heroes too. Doctors, all of you, are the ones that parents run to when their children are hurt or sick. You're the ones they look to when they need to feel better. You're the folks people are grateful and relieved to see when a passenger chokes or goes into cardiac arrest on a flight. You are the people on whose expertise and training families hinge their every hope when their loved one is in critical condition in a hospital room, or when the child they dreamed their whole life of having is in the NICU. That's really what you as physicians represent to people, hope. Accidents happen, illnesses happen, but as long as we have doctors, we have hope that we'll be okay, everything will be okay, and normal in the end. Just like superheroes, doctors actually do save the day. Think about every major outbreak in U.S. history. AIDS, SARS, Ebola, enterovirus. Doctors and other medical professionals invest their time and their resources to save lives. When you calculate the cost of medical school and the exorbitant cost of student loans needed to fund it at times, and the long years of residency that follow, when you think about time spent on call or away from family and loved ones, medicine may not always seem like the most lucrative profession available today. However, I've found that most physicians did not actually go into medicine just for the financial gain. They go into the profession because they wanted to help people. They wanted to save lives, and they wanted to be that last great hope for so many that make it all worthwhile. Most physicians don't actually choose medicine. Medicine really chooses you. For most, doctor isn't a title, it's actually a calling. It's a dream that took root in childhood or somewhere growing up. But somewhere there's a disconnect. If you walk into any hospital room or talk to doctors offline, the consensus is that that dream that so many once had, the dream that you could save lives, make the world safe, to be someone's hero, has become less of a dream and sometimes a little more of a nightmare. In a widely talked about recent column in the Wall Street Journal entitled "Why Doctors Are Sick of Their Profession," cardiologist Sandeep Johar said doctors have become, quote, like everyone else in society, insecure, discontent, and anxious about the future. He also said that practicing medicine has become like a job, not really a calling. But I'm standing here today, speaking to you, to let you know that you can love practicing medicine with colleagues that you adore, in a location you desire, with compensation that will be attractive, and that practicing medicine can be that calling, not a job for you. There is an ideal opportunity out for you. I know this because for the past 22 years, I've helped physicians like you find rewarding opportunities and fall in love with their work and rediscover their calling all over again. And I can do the same for all of you. But in order for me to show you how someone like me can help you find that opportunity, I'd like for you to do one thing. For the next 10 or 15 minutes, just ignore the naysayers, the ones who say that ideal opportunities don't exist, the one who tell you that you can't find a job in a city and a state that you love, where you want to be, naysayers who believe you can't get a great compensation package and have a wonderful life, naysayers who believe that they have to slug along in a job that they simply hate because it's not possible to find a better place out there. It is possible to find all of those things and more, but it won't happen simply because you will it to, or because I wave a magic wand to make it happen. Finding the right opportunity will require preparation, discipline, and a good coach. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you 5 things that I've learned over the past 26 years you absolutely must do in order to have a successful job search, one that will culminate with finding that dream job you're all hoping for in your heart. Are you ready? Let's get started. So step one to finding your dream job is get clear on what you want, both personally and professionally. If you're going to go on a trip to Europe or India per se, for an extended vacation, what would you actually do? Where would you start? Would you hop on a plane to a random destination and hope that you wound up somewhere on that continent? Some might, most won't. And most wouldn't, because they would feel frustrated and end up possibly miles from where they hoped to land. Things might not go as smoothly as they had originally hoped if they took that approach. If you wanted to successfully plan a vacation, you would most likely start several months or more in advance. You'd research the countries, you might learn that language, try to freshen up your skills. You'd paint a picture in your mind of what you wanted that trip to look like once you were there. You might be surprised if I told you that most people actually put more time and effort into their vacations than they do in their job search. I think some of that's fear. But in order for you to find that professional opportunity, you really must get very clear and specific about what you're looking for in a professional opportunity. What type of environment would you like to work in? Are you looking for a bustling children's hospital, a private practice, very small urgent care facility, a federally qualified healthcare center? What type of setting do you see yourself in? What type of doctors do you enjoy practicing with? What type of personalities would you see these people having that would be the ideal environment for you? If you could choose one city and state anywhere in the country, where would it be? Would it be a driving distance from the beach or from the mountains? Would it be in a major metropolitan city? Where would that location be? Once you get clear on what you want, write it down. That's probably the one step most people miss, is they hold it in their head. But I found that there's a power to having it on paper and having that paper where you can go back and visit frequently. Take the time to write your vision down before the search is a very critical piece. The job search process can become very overwhelming and very daunting at times when you're in the middle. It's like being in the middle of a journey. So having that to reference can be very important. It's a very clear vision and a guide. It helps keep you grounded about choosing the right opportunity for not only yourself but your loved ones. Step number 2 to finding your dream job is keeping an open mind. Now, I realize that advice might actually sound counterintuitive to what I just told you to do. However, it's important to be open-minded and flexible as to where that perfect opportunity shows up. In my 26 years of recruiting, I've learned that sometimes the best opportunities and experiences in our lives look nothing like what we originally envisioned them to. After all, as William Shakespeare so wisely warned us, expectation is the root of all heartache. So think about a time when you were surprised that you formed a great friendship or a relationship with someone you didn't think you'd ever like because they weren't really your type. Or maybe you pushed past a fear to do something that was a little out of your comfort zone, and in the end you wondered why you hadn't tried it sooner. For me, it was relocating to a location that was totally the opposite of where I ever envisioned myself. I'm from North Carolina, and I love mountains and trees and lakes and oceans, and I wound up in Dallas, Texas. And when that was first presented to me, my original thought was, you didn't hear what I was saying. I don't like hot, and I don't like flat, and I couldn't envision that there was anything remotely like what I wanted in that location. And I've been there now for 15 years. So sometimes you have to get past that original vision, even though you've gotten very clear on it. What resonated with me in that case was it was the fact that the professional opportunity was exactly what I was looking for. The city wasn't, but I was able to tell myself that if I was there for 2 or 3 years, that I could live anywhere happily for 2 or 3 years. And then if I didn't like it, I gave myself permission after 3 years to relocate. But I didn't give myself permission before. Like I said, I'm still there now. So sometimes it's just connecting with the fact that professionally at the time, I knew that was the right thing for me, so I could set aside that vision of what that perfect geographic location looked like for the opportunity. I've had physicians that I've placed that originally told me that they wanted to be in New England, and they wound up in California, and they were thrilled because, again, it was the professional opportunity, or it was the people, it was the environment, it was the culture. It just happened to be in a different place. It still had trees. It still had them near the mountains. So being flexible as to how that picture comes together for you can be very important. The next step in finding your dream job, number 3, is create a circle of champions. Everyone needs a support system. And the important thing is a group of people who absolutely know what's best for you, who can support you and help keep you grounded as well. People who want you to be happy, but also people who will challenge you to be better and to consistently grow. And they might push you to consider what it is about a certain location that came up that might be good for you. You want the people who will tell you the truth, not just what you want to hear. You want people that will be the devil's advocate, per se, for you. And you want the people who also you can keep giving you that positive attitude. Sometimes, as I was just explaining to a physician a little while ago, sometimes you might put your CV out there and the right opportunity doesn't show up immediately, and people are tempted to go ahead and grab the first thing that comes along because they're fearful that they might not get that next opportunity. I see someone nodding. Sometimes it takes time to find that right position, so you need that circle of support that will keep you on path, keep reminding you what you're looking for, encourage you not to just give in too quickly. I just shared an experience a little while ago of a physician I've been working with for 3 years. That physician, we submitted his CV 3 years ago to an opportunity he was very excited about. He knew it was exactly what he was looking for. What happened was not that there was not an interest in him. It was the fact that it was just timing of what was going on within the organization. 6 months ago, he went and interviewed finally and was a little irritated that it had taken that long to get the first interview. And then they loved him. He loved them. He was all excited. It was kind of like a date. He was waiting for that next date to call, and the next date didn't happen. And 6 months later, they're calling him back. The interesting thing was, from the practice and the hospital's point of view, they were interested in him all along. It was other little things that had come up, so it wasn't him. So getting that extra encouragement and that extra reassurance from other people that sometimes don't take the timing and the process personally, keep in mind the fact that it was the position and the location and what you're looking for. So sometimes that timing just takes a little while. So happy to say that he's actually interviewing next week on a second interview, and hopefully we'll be getting a job offer. But had to get back excited again. So hold on to that vision, like I said. Step 4 to finding your dream job is, when seeking advice from others, consider the source. While it's important to have people in your corner, it's also important that you critically evaluate the advice that you're getting from others. And this can apply to everyone from mom to your sister to other people within your program, to doctors and other job candidates. Ask yourself, is this person who's offering advice able to be objective? What are their motivations for giving me that advice? Sometimes our friends and family want to keep us close when maybe that's not the best thing for us. Maybe there's a wonderful job out there that's going to be what you're looking for, and you might have to leave home for a couple of years or be away from family. So make sure that you're looking at if that advice resonates with what's in your heart. Ask if also that person will somehow be of benefit. Are they remaining objective? Are they listening to you? Wherever you're getting that advice from, go back to that circle that will keep you in mind as well. Keep in mind that when speaking to other people, if their advice doesn't line up, if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't ring true to you, stick with what you know and ask questions very carefully, but remain open-minded and find that opportunity that resonates with you. You'll know it, you'll have that feeling. That's what's important. Step number 4, we touched on just a moment ago, but it's actually trusting that process. Everything in life is a process, just like in medicine with trying different things. Perfect example is farming. We all know the universal law of reaping and sowing. A farmer sows a seed in the ground. He waters it and fertilizes it, and over time, the seed develops a root system. The farmer continues to water and fertilize the ground, and eventually that sprout appears. Sometimes this can take months, or sometimes it can take years, as with the candidate that I just mentioned. But Eventually that seedling becomes a very healthy, vibrant plant that now produces seeds of its own. To the person who walks by and sees the green, healthy, mature plant, that plant has always been there. He or she sees the end result. But the farmer, the one who knew the plant when it was a seedling, knew better. He knows that the journey from seedling to full-blown plant was a process and it didn't happen overnight. The same is true for your job search. There will be good days and bad days. There will be days when you feel like you've been watering and fertilizing forever and nothing is happening and you don't see that seedling. And sometimes you'll see that something looks like it's about to turn, you're about to get that perfect offer, and then it falls apart. There'll be days when you're excited, and there are other days that you really feel hopeless. I know the job search process can actually seem daunting for a lot of people, particularly when they've been focused on medicine, not on looking for jobs. Think about your favorite movies, though. There's always in every great screenplay, a protagonist who meets his opponent. And almost there's a point where you're certain the opponent is going to win, but inevitably, if the protagonist perseveres, they prevail in the end, right? Any of your favorite movies go back to that story, and so it is for you. Do the very best you can, then sit back and just trust that process. The right opportunity actually will eventually always reveal itself and become very clear, and you'll know it's the right thing. The final step to finding your dream job, something I just gave advice on a few minutes ago before I started the speech, was just be yourself. There's a lot of advice online or on the internet, and I'm sure several of you could be sitting here thinking, I was hoping for some pointers on what my CV should look like, or the format, or there's specific things about what you wear or what you say on the interview. And there's plenty of advice about that. What I found in my 26 years is that finding that right job really doesn't boil down to any of that. That's all kind of common knowledge and it's easy to find. But actually being yourself is most important. There's obviously certain professional protocol that you should follow, and there's tips that I can give you on that. But sometimes we can get so consumed with those things that we forget to just let who you are shine through in the process. One of the things I hear all the time in my line of work is that a candidate might look good on paper, but they're not the right fit. And people will ask me what fit means, and that means different things to different people. Fit has to do with credentials, it has to do with education, but it has a lot more to do with what we call soft skills. The intangible things like one's personality, one's work ethic, your interests, who you are as a person, or just your outlook on life. There are things that can't be measured on a CV. And when people have 5 or 6 CVs and they're interviewing, they like all of the candidates, they're trying to figure out who is the right person. It's really not going to boil down to what font your CV is in. It's going to boil down to being authentic and genuine, being yourself, letting those things come through. I just had a question from a candidate about if something was professional to have on their CV. And it was something that actually completely matched what he was looking for in the location where he wanted to go. And as I advised him that this was part of what I was about to speak about, was that that would show people in that area why he was a good fit to that geography. It matched the culture. He would be a good fit for the area. And that's something you want to come through, is who you are. Let people see who you are authentically. Don't be afraid to be yourself. I have a candidate currently who is interviewing for a position who has a very unconventional CV. Board certified pediatrician, but a lot of people can look at his CV and they don't immediately connect with it because it doesn't look like the normal path. He's been outside the box. He's very visionary, entrepreneurial, and in looking at it and sending his CV to different locations and clients, several people immediately did say, I don't know what to do with this. And they kind of had to set it aside because it didn't immediately match what they thought, didn't fit in that box perfectly. There were a couple of clients I knew would look at him, and indeed, when the moment they saw his CV, they thought he was the best candidate they had ever seen. They were thrilled. They immediately connected with what he had done and why he had done it. They thought it took a lot of courage to do what he had done, and so immediately they connected with him, wanted to see him, and I now have 2 offers for him. You know, the whole point of that being that fit is different, and there's someone somewhere, there are practices somewhere that will resonate. The people that you're looking for are also looking for you. I think is the best way to look at it. So make sure that that professionalism shines through. Don't be just like everybody else. Put those things on your CV so that someone knows who you are as a person and why your personal interests and what inspires you every day might resonate with their practice. All of us in the room know that the odds are in your favor. There actually are plenty of jobs for physicians, and they may not be exactly where you want right this minute, but there are plenty of jobs available for doctors. You're some of the fortunate people in this world where there are opportunities out there. But in order to maximize those opportunities and find work that you would feel is not just a job, but your life's work, you have to remember all the things that we talked about today. Get clear on what you want, create a circle of champions, scrutinize the outside advice that you're given, including my own, trust the process, be yourself, and eventually you'll find that right opportunity, the one that you've envisioned yourself in. And who knows, it might just turn out to be that dream job, the one you've imagined so long ago, the one where you care for sick children, you find cures for diseases, you give parents peace of mind that they desperately need, and help all of us to feel that everything will be okay in the end. The job where you're more than a doctor, but you're a hero to people. That being said, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer how that applies. The first point was get clear on your vision, write down and have it on a sheet of paper. Most importantly, write that down just in terms of professional and personal. Make sure a lot of people laugh about that, but carry around that sheet of paper. I think it's very powerful, and I've seen that happen. It's much more powerful to get it down on paper, but write down your professional goals down to the detail of the practice, like I said, the personalities, as well as the area where you see yourself living and what's important to you personally, both including your family as well. I think one of the things that's so important about that, I just had a surgeon that I had helped several years ago, and they wound up in a location where it was not wasn't their ideal personally, but it was the perfect professional practice. And he had involved his wife in the process. I had spoken with both of them. They took a position. He loved it. It was ideal for him. They were there for 2 years. His wife suddenly decided that she wanted to be in another state, and they moved. And I happened to bump into him a few months ago at a conference, and when I bumped into him, he told me that he was miserable and said that he had actually failed to do. He said, what you told me on our very first conversation, and my wife and I have been talking about that what you said was write down what we wanted personally and professionally. And he said, you shared with me that you had to keep both of those in mind, not just one. He said, the mistake I made, he said, other than not calling you to check before I changed jobs, but he said, the mistake that we made was that we went where personally we thought geographically we would be happy. We thought it was the ideal location. He said, what I found was I'm miserable professionally. It's not anything about what I wanted professionally. So having that balance of those two things, keeping in mind the balance can be critical. He just signed last month at a new job that does offer both. We found him a practice that made both of them happy, and they're both excited, and hopefully they're going to be there for the next 10 years, or longer. But having that written vision really is very important. And probably as a recruiter, what I get the most calls back about, down the road is that not factoring all of those things in. And sometimes you can't find everything. You make a decision like I did in going to Dallas, but you factor in why that was and why it was the right fit for you at the time. Sometimes it's a short-term stop on your journey. So, yes.
Create a circle of friends, advisors or something.
Yes.
Is it something like what you mean by that is like your professional colleagues, or is it something like people who are your friends but are not in the same profession? They are professional in their own profession, but close to you, and they understand or is it something like totally out of the box family members or something?
Yeah. The question was, when you're creating a circle of champions or support system, to ask of, are those your colleagues, are those friends, or who are those people? And I think it's all of the above. I think it's creating 5 or 6 people Probably no more than 5, but have several people that you trust that have different lenses on your search. People that maybe have known you growing up, known you from childhood, people that know you professionally, know your professional skills and strengths, what you bring in your practice to the table. I would just choose people that you feel like you can respect, that you really actually think will stay objective, and kind of help sometimes keep you on that right path. It's very easy. I found we all have the friends who love us and just want to say, oh, if you want to quit, quit. Oh, if you want to do this, do this. You need kind of that balance of people who will say, no, don't quit. Remember, you were looking for this. Stick with that. You need the people that kind of maintain and stay objective and have different lenses, both from your practice world, colleagues, supervisors, but people who you sense care about you. And I think having different people, it can be family and friends, but just choosing those people wisely, and knowing the people who will always keep you on your right path.